when you enter the door, you must say, I will do my best. And when you leave that door, you say, I did my best.
This episode is brought to you by
Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm here in beautiful Walnut, California, and right next to me, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm actually sitting with a person that's so, I can't even say it. She has been through so many things in her life, but she is someone that we can all look up to. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Miss Florence Nacino. Hi, Florence.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. And hello, everyone. Nice to sit with you today.
Thank you so much for allowing us in such a beautiful place. And I can't believe I'm actually here. But I want to find out, first of all, we see all these products on the table. How did you even come up with all these things?
Yes, this is a product of my love for my grandchild, my first grandchild. I'm a chemist. I'm a formulator. I've been in the industry for more than 50 years, but my grandson was born 20 years ago. I developed this as a legacy for my children, but I was busy with my contract manufacturing business that it went to sleep. But when I retired in August of 2024, I decided to launch this product so that everyone can experience this for their babies, and it's also good for the whole family. Yes, it was clinically tested, and I made sure that they are safe, pure, and effective.
So you were talking about legacy for your grandson earlier. And so when you were growing up, what was it like in your family? What was the legacy that they left behind for you to follow?
Well, I was an orphan at the age of 5. I was I went to live with my aunt in a remote place in Ilocos Norte, Philippines. And then at that age, I was exposed to the poverty around me. Children with no shoes, tattered clothes. And so at that time, I decided I don't want to be poor. So I figured out that to get out of that poverty is education. So I spent my hours reading, even on candlelight. I read the whole library, all the books in that small town library. And it took me to places bigger than life, to Europe, the United States, and made me dream of better opportunities, that there is a way to live a better life if I go to the United States. So luckily, I was able to go to the University of the Philippines and graduated BS Chemistry and came to the United States with my husband. It's very interesting because I found out there was a lot of discrimination at that time, and I had a hard time looking for a job. My husband was able to get a job the next day because of his experience with Exxon Philippines. But for me, because I was a woman, I came from a third world country. I graduated from a third world country. So it was difficult to get into the workforce.
The Philippines, as we all know, is a developing country, and you were talking about living in a remote part of Ilocos Norte. What was it like growing up there? Were you given opportunities like everyone else, like your neighbors, or what was it like?
My aunt was very she has so many businesses like raising pigs, raising chicken, cultivating tobaccos. So I was exposed to that kind of living, but the neighborhood was not as good as the family that I was with. So that really encouraged me to get out of that system. And so I wanted to go to the United States. So I asked, my brother was here in the United States, so I asked him to support me if I go to Quezon City in Manila and study at the University of the Philippines.
Not a lot of people have the aptitude for what you actually studied at the University of the Philippines. I can personally say that chemistry is really not in the periphery, not my forte at all, but you graduated with a bachelor's degree in chemistry. What led you to want to study chemistry, let alone learn about all the particles and molecules and atoms? A lot of those things are foreign to a lot of people. They're so abstract.
Well, I was interested in medicine, and I wanted to study chemistry because of perhaps one day I'll work in a research company and discover something. But what triggered me to really go into chemistry was my cousin visited the Philippines, and she was a chemist here in the United States. She also graduated from the University of the Philippines. But when she visited our town, she came from America, and so she had so many gifts. And so I figured there must be a lot of money in the United States. So I decided I would be like her, because my real goal really is to come to the United States.
Manifesting at an early age about coming to the United States.
Yes.
Earlier on, you were talking about reading books in the library and reading about all these foreign places outside of the Philippines. Why did you choose the US? What was so exciting about the United States more than any other country you've read about?
Well, I read that it's the land of opportunity. And there were other people that I know that came to the US, and they seem to be better. They bring a lot of balikbayan and all that. And so I said, I will go there. It was just, my target was the United States. And so that's what I did. And I would say that I was lucky because of the education I got from the Philippines. I would say I learned the basic chemistry, and so everything is based on scientific method, and I approach my career that way. So I'm very curious, I investigate, and then I research, and then make my conclusion. So it was very helpful, that learning that I got from UP, because when I arrived here and work in the environment that I work in, it was a chemical company. My first job was a chemical company. I was able to apply myself by that principle, and I believe that was the reason why I was able to follow easily what was expected of me.
Did you have any challenges about coming to the US, since you really wanted to go to the US for a very long time? Did you have challenges, or was it easy for you to migrate to the US?
Well, my husband, when he was in college, he applied for coming to the US. And by the time we got married, he got his visa. So I was included then to come to the US. So it wasn't a challenge, but I know that a lot of Filipinos and other nationality have difficulty coming to the U.S. So when I had the opportunity of managing a company, I helped several employees to get their visa by petitioning them to work here in the U.S. and get their permanent visa.
The process of petitioning people, like employees, to get a visa.
Well, they of course they have to have their lawyer to fill out the forms from the U.S. government, and then one of the things that they require them, or at least how the people that I help, they had to enroll in the university or even in a state college, and it gives them work visa, and so they can work at certain hours, and so that's what they did. And then later on, they apply for, because of that they were able to apply for the permanent visa. But it depends on the country. So like the one from South Korea that I petitioned, it took less than 1 year. The one that's from India, it took 3 years. Because they said that it depends, South Korea doesn't have too many people wanting to come to the United States. So it was easier for them. For India, there's a lot, and the same thing with Filipinos. There's too many people that want to come here, and so the waiting period is longer.
There's a lot of people who want to come to the US, but when they come to the US, the expectations are different. TV, we see a beautiful, grand life. Everyone's so affluent or successful. There are a lot of successful immigrant stories out there. But when they get here, there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of difficulties, right?
Right.
Did you experience any of those when you first got here?
Yes. It's difficult because especially when you have children. I have 3 kids, and there's no babysitter. And so it's my husband had to work at night, and I work during the day. So we don't have to bring the kids to a babysitter, and also we just don't want to, we don't know who the babysitter would be, if they are good to the kids when your back is, when you turn your back. So we decided to approach that barrier by having different schedule. Over here, you buy everything, of course. You have to pay rent, you have to buy necessities, and when you're starting, you don't have that much, the payroll not much, and so you just have to save. When we were first arrived here, we didn't go to movies, we only go to a Kmart, and we don't go on vacation because we were saving. So the first year we had to save, and eventually we saved enough, $10,000 we put down on the house. Actually, this is the house.
Wow.
Yes.
And how long have you been here in this house?
42 years. Yes.
That is so amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, we're all in Walnut, and around that time, this area was really new. We're just beginning to develop this area, right?
Yes, we were one of the first settlers in Walnut. You don't see too many. Actually, there were no schools, so I had to bring my kids to the next town. There are no shopping centers there, and markets, so we have to go to the next town. But it became a city, so we were lucky we were able to settle here.
A lot of people know what that's like, the experience of being a new immigrant and trying to navigate all these things about living here in the US. And of course, it's so different from living in the Philippines where you have a support
Yes.
network, right? When you got your first job, were you excited? Were you happy that you finally working in the US? What was it like?
Yes, actually, it's very comforting, and so um, we were able to open a bank account. And funny that the first check that I wrote was to myself, because when you come here you have to have a checkbook. And so the check I wrote myself, $1 million. Hopefully that one day I will collect it. I had no idea, but I wanted to, and I'm very glad. I'm very thankful to the Heavenly Father that I was able to realize that goal.
I actually saw that it's framed right over
Yes.
there, that check. And it's so amazing because at that time, like early on, you were already manifesting success and prosperity in your life, and you were able to reach that. But we all know that it doesn't come easily. It takes years for that to happen to a lot of people. A lot of people experience racism and discrimination in the workplace. That happens to a lot of immigrants. Did you experience any of that?
Yes, actually, my first job was I was hired as a chemist, but I ended up washing the dishes. I was sweeping the floor. My boss was a racist. He was a white guy, but luckily there was another white guy who was very who understand my situation. So when the boss is away, he would call me and says, "Florence, come and do the test here, acid value or whatever, and then watch the window. When the boss is parking his car, he would then tell me, Florence, he's here." So then I would go back to washing the dishes. But that didn't deter me from my determination to succeed. I was my goal was to dream. I dreamt big. It was a big goal for me, but I worked hard for it. I was focused on that goal, and then I learned every day. I read books. I read at least 2 books a day, and then of course I enjoy life now. But it's a hard work, especially when I started my own company. Um, it was a challenge. It was very demanding, a lot of pressure, because I started with no funding. I was just using my own funding, my own money. I ended up using credit cards, and but it was a lot of, you know, because of the payroll, I had to pay attention to every cash flow. And so my granddaughter and I was eating sardines morning, lunch, and dinner for several months just to keep afloat. But I did not give up, and I started the company in 2017, and in 4 years I sold the company to a conglomerate, and I paid all my bills, so I became debt free at that point.
What was that transition like, working for an employer who was racist and who discriminated you, deciding to open up your own company? What was going on in your mind? What was that decision making process?
Well, in between, after that discrimination that I experienced, I was lucky to meet somebody that that believed in me, and I was actually a founding member of 2 major contract manufacturing company here in LA, and that gave me a lot of insight into how to build a company. And those companies that I helped build became multi-million dollar operations. And I saw that there is an opportunity for a small company because there are brands or clients that can only afford maybe 1,000 units to 10,000 units, because the corporations that I helped build, they were asking clients to order at least 10,000, 20,000 to 100,000, big orders. And there are brands that are starting. They don't have the funding to order big quantities. So I figured if there is a company that could cater to the smaller companies, I believe that it will be a different, it would be successful on its own. And so that's what I did. I catered to the smaller companies, but what I did was, because of my formulation experience, I was able to provide formulas for these clients. And fortunately, those clients that started with me 5 years ago and started with 1,000 or 5,000 units, they are now selling millions to this day.
What are the advantages of working with small to mid-sized companies?
Well, you have more. The relationship is more personal, because you see them every day, not working with the corporation that you don't see who the leaders are. A small companies, you talk to the owners one-to-one, and you can understand what their requirements are, and they could also and I could give advice or enhance their concept. But because the way I did it is I never stopped learning. So every year I would attend seminars, conventions, especially going to Europe every year to attend those new technologies, new innovation, because they are 2 years ahead of us here in the United States. So I would go. There's a group of us that would go and attend the international convention for cosmetic chemists, and we see new concepts, new technology, new products, and so we come back to the U.S. and then we would show our clients what can be done with those learnings, and then create formulas for them, and then they would launch it, and so then that's their business. We help with their business.
In the years that you've been formulating and helping companies manufacture certain products, what are the things that you saw that people really needed? Like regular people like me, what did you see out there in the marketplace? What do people really need? What are they looking for?
Well, they're looking for something that they could relate to. And when I create products, I always have to have a story for that. So I would, when I talk to my clients, they know their market. Okay, so formulating for a mass market is different from formulating for the Nordstrom or Neiman Marcus, or it's customized. Okay, so it's all different formulation. So it's what I would do is that I would, just like talking to you, you tell me what you have in your mind, and then if you say I want a skincare for anti-aging. Then I would say, okay, what particular ingredients do you have in mind? Because sometimes you have a connection with probably an extract or something that you have experienced in your life. If you were, say, you went to France and you walked through the lavender fields and you think that, oh, the lavender would be lovely in my cream, and then we would put lavender in there. But then if you are going to be, you want an anti-wrinkle, then I might come up with an idea that, oh, this ingredient from the Swiss Alps was clinically tested that it would reduce wrinkle in it. There's a clinical study that for 50 patients that it reduces their wrinkle 70% or 50%, whatever. So I would enhance it so that you would have a product that is functional and effective. That kind of customization is appropriate for a high-end product. Now, if you say, I just want to sell to a mass market, then maybe I would go, because those functional ingredients are very expensive. They could run into thousands of dollars. So if you're going for mass market, I could probably get you something that is more traditional that would not cost as much as those. So it's all on the story.
And what's the story behind your products over here, Earth Baby?
Okay, because babies cannot complain, they cannot say what they feel. So I wanted it to be for sensitive skin, anti-irritation, something that helps moisturize the skin. So I researched on that, and I found technology from Canada, and a biotech company was doing a study for an economical insulin for the third world country. So there was a cream, a byproduct during their study, a byproduct that looks like a cream, and they studied that, and it showed that it's a safflower. It's based on a safflower seed oil, and it shows that that cream has still the function and the nutrients that's found in a natural safflower seed oil. And so they studied that it's a triple action. It's moisturization, it's an emollient, and an emulsifier. So that the Earth Baby products have that in every SKUs, and so that alone helps the product to be less sensitive than a traditional ingredient, because when the traditional emulsifiers are irritating to the skin. So I use the Oleosphere. That's the one, Oleosphere technology, that is in these products.
You were talking about your grandson earlier, and when you were thinking about doing something for your family in terms of products, what led you to want to have something that your grandson can use? But granted, it was done 20 years later, right? What was your thought process back then, 20 years before you actually came up with the actual products?
During that time, there was no organic, there was no natural. But I thought, I made products for different people, baby products, out in the market at that time. And there was nothing in the market that has those clinical studies or natural organic concept. So that was my concept. I was probably the first one to think about that. And so I developed that for my grandson to use. And even if it was not marketed at that time, I create them in the lab and have my grandson use it every day. But then over the years, I said, perhaps I should introduce it so that the rest of the world can experience or the products that could be for any baby around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I'm also using them myself because it's good for the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What trends do you see in the cosmetic industry, in the skincare industry around the world?
Well, there's several. They use peptides. They use liposomes, um, vitamins, but it all depends on the market you're going through. Um, right now, natural is very popular. So it's and then it a lot of cosmetics targeted. Maybe it's anti-wrinkle, maybe it's for eczema, for um, it could be moisturization only, it could be protection. So it all depends on what you're marketing. But right now, natural is everywhere.
When you're when you and your husband moved here to the US, you had a lot of dreams. What were those dreams, and have you realized those dreams?
Well, the dream is to live well. Actually, my husband was a simple guy. He was very content with whatever we had. I was the one who was always thinking I could do more. So because of that, I wanted to improve myself. And they said that you have to dress up to the position that you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I was a chemist, I dressed up in a suit going to work. And so I became very popular in the cosmetic industry because I wanted to be somebody one day. So I attended seminars. Every time I go to a meeting, I would sit myself next to somebody that I don't know. And then I introduce myself. So that's how I became known in the industry. I'm on the board of Beauty Industry West for so many years. And so I would say that my goal really was to learn every day. And then when I was in a position to be in charge of a company, my goal was to train everyone in that company,
Mm-hmm.
from the janitor all the way up. And so my company became known in the industry as a boutique manufacturer of quality and service.
Mm-hmm.
So I never advertised. People came to me to ask me to manufacture their products. I had the choice. I just didn't take anybody that knocks on my door.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to sustain the clients that I chose, and they became bigger and successful in whatever market they are in
Mhm.
at the moment.
As a leader of a company, and when you're running a company, what was that collective mindset that you wanted everyone to have, from the janitors all the way up to the key leaders and stakeholders?
Well, I always train my people to number one is quality, and number two service. Um, so and I train them. I always, and I am very particular about not only uh, the company, the building, but also the people working there. So when I made a mantra, or we have a mantra that says, if you come to the building, when you enter the door, you must say, I will do my best. And when you leave that door, you say, I did my best. So everyone in the company did their best.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an collaborative effort that the company did well, because during my tenure building the company and up to when I left, there was no rework, there was no complaint, there was no return, and what customers were very happy. And that's one of the reasons why a big conglomerate bought the company, and they're still thriving today.
What would you say is the benchmark for you personally to say that after all that you've gone through all these years, that you did well?
Well, my mantra is that to dream big, work hard, learn every day, and the money will follow. So, of course, you have to have humility, respect, kindness, confidence, and courage. Those are the things that you should have to be able to succeed in life. I was in contract manufacturing, but that's what I practiced. And I preach to the people that cross my path that they should do the same. And I'm very happy because a lot of my employees are now occupying places in the industry, high places in the industry, from manager to executive vice president. They are spread throughout the manufacturing companies here in LA.
Mm-hmm. For someone who wants to build their own business, for someone who's just starting, what would your advice be?
Well, they should be an expert in that field, because if they have to know all the details of everything in that company. So, like, I was an expert in quality, I was expert in formulation, regulatory affairs, because there's a lot of regulation here in California. So you have to know all the rules that pertain to your industry. The regulatory is not static, it always changes. So you have to learn every day. Look at what is new if you are FDA regulated industry, you have to check it every day. Because the company that I built was FDA regulated, so it's for inspection anytime. It could be unannounced, and you have to make sure that everything is in compliance. Mm-hmm. And the people did their job, and so there's so many. So every day I would take my walk to make sure that everything is going on. So if you don't, it's not, for me, it's not advisable to open a business that you're not familiar with.
You have grown up children, right? What are your dreams for them?
Well, my dreams for them is to be able to be happy. Actually, that's the goal of every human being, is to be happy. Happiness is a choice. And so I don't mandate my children to follow my path. Actually, they don't think it's a great idea, because as I grew over the years when I was building my career, it was, when I come home before 9 o'clock in the evening, they think I was sick. So my hours were long. I used to travel 3 hours a day, 1.5 hours back and forth. So during those times, I spent my time listening to tapes, leadership, about improving oneself. So I was calculating the hours that I spent during that time, and it amounted to 2 years. So it's like finishing a 2-year college by just listening to all those tapes.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to, what you've already done so far?
Well, I retired August of 2024, and I retired from contract manufacturing. I still have my consulting company. I also have this brand to build, but I wanted to travel the world. And so the best way would be to I thought about traveling the world, but the best way was to work with Universal Woman. So I invested in that program, and I met great people. And of course, this year, the Miss Universal Woman 2024 came from the Philippines, Maria Gigante. And so I was very lucky to host her, and we became very good friends. I love her, and so I look forward to more years working with her. And then, of course, I have my other charities, which is I put out seed money for Preface Foundation 5 years ago. It started with one state. It's about early childhood literacy. It started in Georgia, and then in 5 years they are now in 15 states. So that's part of the proceeds from Earth Baby goes to that foundation. And then of course the other one is Folded Flag, because my daughter joined the Air Force and had seen so many fallen soldiers, and Folded Flag provides scholarship to the families, and especially the children of the soldiers that sacrificed their lives during the military war. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't have regrets. My regret was my husband, who sacrificed a lot with me during the early days, was not able to see the fruit of that sacrifice, because he passed on before I sold the company. So I wish he could have been there. But when I got the paycheck, I brought it to the cemetery to show him that we did it.
And that's such a beautiful story. And so everybody manifesting and dreaming is something that we ought to do, because it's happened to Florence personally, right?
Yes. But the first check that I did after selling my company went to my church. Yes. So I was able to help the church in their projects. Yeah.
And it's also about receiving and giving back as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, let's all give a round of applause to Miss Florence Nacino. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon in the next episode of Chat with Mick. Bye.
Bye.
Time to shine, shine bright, be the star you are, yeah. Time to shine, shine bright, be the star you are, yeah.
Don't miss out. Want to be seen? Want to be heard? Want lots of exposure? Ask us how.